Sorry. Part of the trust, especially when it comes to men, is the whole aspect of when a man eventually opens up and speaks, shares his mind. The video was bringing out how it is shut down. And I think that this is generally how it is. It comes across to a man. And even though some of the things a man raises, it's also what a woman experiences. So, if, for example, that a man or a woman raises a matter, we'll take it first of all from both sides. A man or a woman raise a matter, and the person takes the issue that they raise off of them. Let's say that the woman says, I'm so frustrated because I think I have so much doing around this house or for this relationship or for the marriage. And then the man jumped in and said, well, I too, I going through all of this issue too, and I feel frustrated and tired too. Tell me what that actually says or accomplishes. Share with me. What does
It
that
feels
act? Yeah, go ahead.
it kind of diminishes the feeling of the other. Like you don't have a right to feel the way you feel. Because I feel
Right,
the same way.
right. So you have taken the discussion off of that person to now take it and make it yours. I am sharing with you that I went on a wonderful holiday with my family, and you asked me, oh, you did where? And I said, yeah, we went on a cruise and we went to Curacao and we went to St. Lucia and we went to these places. Oh, I went on a cruise too. And then you take off now and the conversation is about your cruise. And you are now going down the road, and I'm not getting a chance to get back inside of the conversation. And I took my mother, and my mother really enjoyed it. We had to pay for her extra because she had to bring a wheelchair and so on. And you gone down the road, and I lost it. One of the things that we do as human beings is that we don't spend enough time to allow ourselves to just allow another person to be able to unpack, offload. And I'm glad we have Jennifer here because we had put in the chat about how a man feels when he shares something intimate and he is reminded about it sometime later when the woman is angry. And I'm not saying this to knock Sister Jennifer, but to really use it as an example. And Sister Jennifer said, I think that it can also be said for women. Um, but the discussion wasn't about that, nor was the video. And on my program, many times when I say something on the program, you'll often hear, let's say it is something regarding what a man goes through. I can almost guarantee a woman is going to post on my statement, women also. Are you all feeling me? But you will hardly ever see a woman post some of the frustration she's going through and a man say, men too. So it's as though it is taken away from the focus of the man. And I did an experiment also on my Facebook page. I wrote some things about what men need, what women go through. And women posted in support that that is what women go through. Like sometimes women feel as though they are tired of carrying the weight of life and they feel frustrated, unappreciated, and all of that. Yes? And they feel as though they are not seen and heard. And women called in, messaging, and supported the position. What I did the next day as the experiment is talk about how men feel unappreciated, men feel as though they're carrying the weight, and so on, and went through the same process. And the number of men wrote and say, but women also feel this too. So it when they had supported it and did not say men too, on the one when it was spoken about with the women. But now that he talks about the men, they try to take it off of the men to put it back on the women. Women feel it too. Those are some of the things that make a man feel that he's not being heard because it is not being left into his space. So I want us to just start off with that as an example. We talk about intimacy and a safe space. And tell me what you think about what I've just said um, concerning that. Oh no, Sister Jennifer, I did not take it as an offense, but I appreciate you saying that. I just felt it was an appropriate thing to now jump off on that point that I was raising. And make sure you drive safely. Eh?
Yeah, I was just taking that as an opportunity not to, I didn't mean to take focus off the man. What I meant to say was that I just meant to make it a point that, women feel that too, but I didn't mean to take focus off of the man.
Right. And when
So,
somebody says, I feel that too, they really did not mean to take it off of the focus. They wanted to share in the experience, but it
mm-hmm.
does not translate that way to the person who's sharing the information. You understand? I would
Yep,
tell you,
I understand.
I had come through, I went to a church fellowship and I met a sister, and I have not seen or heard from the sister for a very long time, even before my um I can't remember what period of time. So she's in the church fellowship and I met her, and I said, oh sister, how are you doing? And so on. She said, Brother Mike, you don't even call me. Since my husband died, was the last time you called me and said hello and so on. But now that my husband dead, you don't care. I said, oh, I'm terribly sorry, sister. And I explained to her, I had a major surgery that I had to fly out of the country, and I had a lengthy recovery. And I am sharing with her why I could not be calling people. Well, brother Mike, I get sick too, and I had a surgery, so on, so on, so on. I mean, you alone don't get sick. And she completely ignored the fact that I had my experience. She was now making it her experience. But even though she's saying I did not call her while her husband, after her husband was there, and she had also her sickness, she didn't call either. And sometimes it makes you feel as though some people really only thinking that the issue must be on them. And I believe that she did not mean this in a bad way, but it's how it translates. And when we have our spouses, whether it's male or female, I'm taking it off of the men now. When we have our spouses and our spouse is trying to unpack, offload, that's a good time because you pay attention to the unpacking and the offloading and not bring it back where we also have the experience. Are you all with me? Right. So I want to open it up here. Let's get some venting here. Let's make it a safe space because this is intimacy. This is the intimacy we're talking about here.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Hi, Sister Lisa.
Okay, so based on what you just said, I think it's best that well, partners practice what is called active listening. So you give them the chance to speak and do not interrupt. And at some point, if there's a lull in the conversation, you can probably repeat to them what you understood, what they would have said. But you just give them a chance to just express themselves without really interrupting.
Right. Okay. Right. All right. So Sister Lisa is saying give them what we call active listening. Whether or not we have gone through it or not, or we know of somebody else who has gone through it, this is their turn. This is their turn to offload. Intimacy says, into me, Into me, you see. You're seen inside of me. Right? So let me say that again. Intimacy is into me, you see. So you're seeing me, and I feel as though you're seeing me. And not that it is now going to be found that it goes back to you. When I'm sharing and somebody sharing in their spouse that, they have all these bills and they're going through such a struggle with the bills and so on. As Sister Lisa said, that is active listening opportunity. I want to hear you. I want you to share with me what you think about that, and is there any way I could help now? Is there any way I could now support you in this? But to come and say that I have the car loan to pay, I have the house mortgage to pay, or the other way around, where the man is saying that he has all of these bills to pay, and the woman jumps in and says, so who you think paying all the children school fees? Who you think buying all the books? Yeah, it's not you alone going through all of this. It does not make it a safe space. Okay? And so active listening is one of the very good things that we could do. Anybody else? All right. We have people shy today. Let's just give you a brief recap of what we said last week. We talk about the 70-30 rule. And if anybody remember what the 70-30 rule is? I would hate to know that
70,
Yes, go ahead.
70% of the time you should feel that things are going well, and 30% of the time you're having challenges.
Wow. Wow. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. 70% of the time, try to make 70% of your experience with your relationship, your thoughts about your partner, the interaction, try to make 70%. Do not get to the point that you want 100%. It is unrealistic. It will never ever happen. It is unfair to you, and it is unfair to your partner. Because you will never ever be 100% happy. So when we are looking for happiness, people consider if I'm not fully happy, that means I am completely unhappy. So somebody could be 80% happy, but because they're not 100% happy, they think there's 0% happiness because they would now ignore every other thing that is there. Right? So it's not unusual for people to be in a relationship that has good capacity to work. Because if you look at the strengths of the person, if you look at some of the work, the efforts the person is putting into, the hard work that they will put into their relationship, the sacrifice they'll put into it. Sometimes you don't have a lazy person, you have a very active person, but you just don't have somebody who is romantic. You'll have somebody who's romantic, but you don't have the person who makes as much money. So you'll have all different types of things. This 70-30 rule says, try to get the majority of your relationship working fairly well, but be very tolerant with the rest. If you are 100% whole and your spouse is 100% whole, then it does not become an issue with somebody who's 100% and 100%. It is always an issue when the person is not 100%. That is the person who keeps saying they are not happy because they are looking to see 100%. But even if you tell them, but you are looking for 100%, they would say, no, I'm not looking for 100%. But technically they are. looking for 100%. Because a 100% person whole understands this. In my relationship with my spouse, there's going to come a time that my partner will operate below 100% of their capacity. My wife may not be well. She may be going through some issue. Your husband may be going through some challenges, whether it's financial challenges, whether it is medical challenges, social challenges, work challenges, and so on. And he's not going to be operating at that. Your wife is not going to operate. The spouse who is at 100% is prepared because my husband is operating at a 50%, 60%, or 40%. I am going to make up for the extra missing percentage. I'm now going to go at a rate of 140%, so that they at 60% will now be able to be supported back to 100%, because that is what I'm there for. You all follow me? This is very crucial what I'm talking about. Very, very crucial. So this spouse understands, when I got into the relationship, I am not with a 100% perfect person, but I am with a person who is 100% whole. And I am okay to raise my injection of capital in this relationship to 140%, because my spouse is operating at 60% at this time while they are going through their crisis. There's going to be a time that spouse will eventually catch themselves and come back to their 100%, because you were running with them at 100%. You were making up for the shortfall. But then you are going to get tired, and you're going to drop below your 100% someday. But with a 100% partner, they can now raise their score, because you might be operating at 50% now, and your partner would now say, I will take up that extra 50%. That is what marriage was really designed for. That is what it is. It's not what the world has been trying to teach us. If you're not happy, leave. If the man is not making you comfortable, if the wife is not providing all your needs, leave. That's what they say. And now we have a massive exodus of people out of relationships. And they will get into another relationship with that same mindset and have to leave again. That's why we have the highest level of divorces and the highest level of single life in society today. So when the woman comes up, or the man comes up to 150%, he holds that. It might mean coming home earlier to take care of the children. It might mean being able to sit down and listen to her offload in frustration and just give her a listening ear because she's frustrated. It might mean taking up some extra financial responsibility in the family and in the relationship. But you understand, this is all part of the game. This is all par for the course. And then that person will catch themselves. And at another point in time, you are running 100 and they are running 100. Here's why it doesn't work. If we have a 50% man married to a 50% woman, they are both broken. They are both underperforming. So when she drops below 50%, or he drops below 50% to 30%, to keep that relationship going, the other partner has to now make up their 50%, because they were not operating at 100, plus they are operating at 30%. So they have to get 50%. And tell me how much more he has to get in order to bring himself or herself back to 100% and the other person back to 100%. All work out that maths for me. He is 50%, she is 50%, but then she drops below 50%, or he drops below 50% and operating at 30%. But you need both of them at 100%. Tell me the calculation. You all understand me? Like the mad
You,
slow boy.
yeah, you said the guy's offering at 50 and the lady dropped to 30, and they both should be at 100. He's got to come up with the other 50 that he needs plus the 70 that she needs. So that'd be 120. So 120 to bring both of them up to 100%.
Right.
On
That's
top of the
why
50 that he's already doing.
his 50, he or she has to come up with that missing 50 that the broken person came in the relationship. Plus, if you're going to balance off the relationship, so I'm agreeing with you. She came in with 50, not 100, but she's now dropped below to 30.
Mm-hmm.
So that is 50 plus 80. Plus, yeah, no, it is 50% plus that
For
miss.
70.
So how much?
70. Because she on
70.
30.
Yeah,
No,
so the guy only had 50, so he's got to come up with 50 to make 100. The lady had 50, but she dropped to 30, so she needs 70 to make it to 100. So 50
200.
plus 70 is 120.
right, because he has to make up his 50,
Yeah, and make up her 70
plus make up her 50, that's 100. And she was operating below her
at
thing
she
at 30.
at 30.
He has
Yeah,
to run
the
at
120 to his
120,
50.
or she has to run 120. I want you to understand why is it that makes the relationship very hard. When you marry somebody who's broken and not 100%, intimacy is lost because we are just fighting to keep the relationship afloat. So we can't go for nice times. We can't go and enjoy a good laugh because we get too bogged down in surviving the relationship. That's why it is important, one, for us all to try and be whole. And if those of us who are already in relationship, we can still try and be whole. And when we are going to get into a relationship with somebody, make sure that person is already whole. They are marrying not because they need somebody. They're marrying because they have something to offer. Let me say that again. We marry because I'm lonely and I need somebody. You need to marry somebody because you have something to share and offer. It is more blessed to give than to receive. Anybody, any feedback? Let me welcome those who have just joined us. Thank you very much for joining us. Pamela, thanks for your input there. No questions? All right. So, marriage and yes, go ahead. Try unmuting it. It works better that way.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me now?
I am Verizon.
All right, the vet wants to say something. Go ahead.
And I was just thinking about that last video where the guy was talking about, shutting down if the woman um, doesn't protect him in his vulnerable state. And I was just thinking, I guess, that I just feel like that's like sad. And I am gonna bring the woman's point of view. Like it wouldn't work if the woman shut herself down, physically. And so I think there might be an opportunity for maybe him to let her know that. Like I know he was vulnerable, and that, if they're in this together and working hard, that he can be vulnerable again with her and say, "Hey, you hurt me. You didn't hear me. You didn't listen." Kind of work through it instead of just being satisfied with shutting down. And like defrauding her of the intimacy that she desires because she made a mistake. Because I don't think that the like women are married and trying to, throw rocks at their husband. They're trying to, they want to build a life together. I think it's like an opportunity for grace. And, you're not like, I know the Bible speaks about not defrauding, and most people apply it physically, but could it be in any area, not just physical defraud, but, emotional
just anything.
Right. And that is what is anything that the person requires in the relationship, for the relationship, your part that you need to play. We need to play. But what we have to be careful about is that we are indeed playing our part. Because sometimes people are not playing their part, but saying that you are not doing your part. We must do our part. And that person must make sure they don't defraud. It is important for the person to see that they are defrauded. And in this case, it was the whole issue of sex that it was talking about. We're going to talk about intimacy as far as that sexual life is concerned. And that intimacy that is talking about there is sexual, physical intimacy. So when the people are in a sexual intimacy, and the video was really talking about the withholding of sex from one part.
Sorry,
Huh?
Brother Stewart. Oh yeah, I think I was talking about the last video where the man was saying he shared with his wife, and she like used it as a weapon later in his eyes, and he shut down.
Oh,
But
that's
he
the one
was
you were talking
yeah
about.
he was
Okay.
mostly talking about himself withholding himself emotionally, and I was saying that like on the opposite side for like a woman, we tell her to not hold herself physically and like like talk to your husband and work it out so you won't withhold yourself physically. And I was saying that on the contrary, it would I would hope that the man would use that as an opportunity not to shut down and withhold himself emotionally, but seek go back and be vulnerable with the woman and let her know that he feels that way, that she is throwing rocks, and so they can work it out, because I don't believe that that's the intention of women, to just get married and throw rocks at their husband. I know that I feel like they want to build with them. So I just thought that was kind of sad that, that was the conclusion, you shut me down, so I'm going to shut down. So sorry, that's what I was trying to say. I don't know if that was clear. Did that make sense, or am I kind of rambling?
Yeah. I think I'm getting, so let me, and if anybody else thinks that they understand where you're going with it, feel free to share. Let me see if I can understand where you're going. I think I'm getting from you are saying that from the video, the man was saying that if um if he let me just put it up here. So anybody who wants to share on that what she's raising there, please go ahead. Because I share in so many different groups that I need to figure out which group I'm dealing with on this one. This is the one with the mental crisis where he shared something that is on his mind and she shut him down and he does not want to share with her again. Am I right?
Yes, like he feels like she's going to use it as a weapon later.
Right. Okay. Right. All right. So, and you are saying that he should not shut down because he should recognize that she did not mean to shut him down. Am I right with that?
I guess not exactly. I'm saying, like, if he feels that way, I think it's important for him to try to be vulnerable again and share with her so that they can work it out. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I'm not saying
I
like
would agree
I
with
don't think
that.
he has a right, but like I think he should share so that he doesn't get into a situation where he's withholding himself as well. It may not be a physical withholding, but it's like a emotional withholding, and I think that's dangerous as well. So I know that,
Mhm.
she hurt him, but I don't think I hopefully he can be vulnerable again, and not use that as an excuse not to be vulnerable again, but seek to work with the wife that he has so that they can grow together. Give her some
Okay.
grace,
Mhm.
because give her
Mhm.
some grace in that situation so she can do better and be better for
Mhm.
him.
Yeah. Let me invite Jennifer to come in.
Oh no, I was just, agreeing, not to um as Christians, we would hope not to stay in, the victim mode, because if I continue to withhold, that doesn't advance our goal of intimacy. So it is incumbent upon me. Hopefully, I have the right support system to encourage me, the right support system in Christ to encourage me to take the opportunity to make myself vulnerable again and say, that hurt me when you brought up such and such again.
Right. Okay. Yes, I see. And I agree. I agree with both of y'all. Anybody else wants to share on it? Let's see if we could push the pencil a bit more. So the person, and we're not dealing with it necessarily from whether it's one side or the next. The person shares and it is thrown in their face after, whether it's the man to the woman to the man. But that happens almost every time, even though the person complains. What would be the natural response to that repetitious scenario?
I mean, naturally, you just learn. You just learn that if I make myself vulnerable, I mean, it's a conditioned response. You know, I say this, I get slapped. Say this, I get slapped. You know, so you just stop saying this. You just say nothing, and you will stop releasing and verbalizing what's on your mind.
Okay. And start saying when you're the person asks, you okay? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Either you're gonna do that or retreat within yourself, or you're just gonna explode.
yeah. And that is also not good
Right.
because we all need that vent to take place. They did an experiment with monkeys and they put some monkeys inside of a cage and put a center pole in the middle of the cage with bananas at the top, way up, a high wired cage. And every time the monkeys go to climb up to get the bananas, the experimenters would take a powerful hose, open it up, and let the water blast them off of the pole. Every time they go to climb up to the bananas, that always happens. So what they did after a while, they noticed that fewer and fewer monkeys started climbing the pole, even though the bananas up there as ripe as ever, and they are hungry. They no longer climbed it. What they also noticed is that they took out most of the ones that were in there during that experiment and brought in new monkeys. And every time the new monkeys go to climb, because they never got the water splashing, the monkeys who were there before would hold on to their tails and pull them back down. Tell me, what is that message that they found out? What was the revelation that they found out in that experiment? Share with me.
It seems like it's the same. It's being classically conditioned. It's just like, you know, fleas in a cup, with a top. They jump until they hit the top. Well, this is what I've heard. I haven't seen this experiment, but this is what people preach. Uh, what the internet says. But you know, fleas in a cup. They even though they can jump 3 feet, 4 feet in a cup with a top, if they jump and they hit the top, eventually they learn to jump no higher than the top in the cup. And even when they have offspring, the offspring who have the ability to jump 4 feet, they allow their parents' conditioning to become their limitation. So they no longer they never try to jump with their ability of 4 feet. They only jump as high as their parents is, which was just the lid inside of the top. So I guess that would be the same. These monkeys have been conditioned. It's a conditioned response. They've seen it, and when these new monkeys come and they see a reward there, these other monkeys who have been conditioned, not only do they hold themselves back, but they hold back the other monkeys. You might say even in a sense of being protected, but it's still holding them back. They I guess it's like Paul. He was talks about Pharisees. They neither go in and they stop others who would go in too. Um, so that's what I get from that.
Right. Okay. Thanks. Thanks very much for sharing that. Anybody else?
So that was Jesus that said, yeah.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
I was thinking that it can keep us from assuming the roles that God would have us to assume. The wife being more, and this is just talking about being historical in general. If it continues to be brought up, then the wife becomes more hardened than, soft. And then the man becomes more soft than masculine, maybe, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yes.
Because you don't want to hurt anymore. So I guess you start choosing the path of least resistance, or you just get calloused.
Yeah. So, and what you all are sharing there is real when it comes to intimacy. If we saw how our parents, one of our parents was putting themselves out of the way to be intimate and how they were hurt, and we see ourselves going into a relationship and giving this relationship our all and becoming emotionally engaged with a person, somebody who has been hurt, they would be like the monkey who got swept off of the pole, would advise us, don't let that woman thief your heart. Let us break your heart. Don't let that man tie up your brain. They meant not good. Because they were swept off. Now you want to climb for the bananas. They will prevent you from climbing for the bananas. Do they mean evil? No. But they've been conditioned according to David. The conditioning says, I know what the pain is like and I don't want you to feel the pain. And we just absorb that. And now we don't want to get close to anybody. We don't want to give our heart to anybody because we saw the pain that other people went through and people shared with us the pain that they went through. And we say, I don't want to go through and I don't want to risk not taking their advice. And then next you know, I get my heart broken. So intimacy does not come easily in a relationship that it is required, actually required. So sometimes the relationship is now watered down to only sex. But you don't get my heart. I get a chance to offload my desire, but you will never get my heart. And all of that comes from conditioning from things that we went through in our lives. And that affects intimacy. All right, anybody else? Okay, so when we talk about the quality of the relationship, we spoke about trust last week, that we must have trust. Trust is such an important thing, and communication and trust, I think it was that we dealt with. And active listening we spoke about and how we manage conflict. We said trust is like a cement. It holds things together. So what we're talking about now is intimacy, which is emotional and physical connection. I feel felt. I got gotten. That's what we experience. Where we can be vulnerable and make effort to feel comfortable and vulnerable to share with somebody else. Right? So in sharing with somebody else and being vulnerable with somebody else means that we cannot put the person in a position that the vulnerability that you are sharing comes across as the person's own fault and not that this is your situation of feelings, right? It has got to come across as though this is what you're experiencing, full stop. If it comes across otherwise, the person will feel blamed for it. So let's talk about the value of intimacy in a relationship. And I want to ask you a question. Those of you who are in a relationship and even those who are not in a relationship. When last you did something romantic, non-business-like in the relationship that you are in? Went out for dinner, went for a walk, held hands, just decided to go for a drive around the countryside and look at houses and just chat with no heavy discussion, just light, casual discussion. The things that lovers do, the things that courting people do, that when we get married, we no longer do it again because everything is business now.
Yeah,
So,
my wife, March, we went. Yeah, she had a birthday, so we just kind of went downtown, got a nice hotel above the city skyline.
you all went down to Six Skylight Hotel
Yeah, we
and
we
had
went
breakfast.
downtown. We went downtown to the Western, and we got a room up on the 60th floor, 50 something. You can see everything. I took it to the restaurant, La Petite Violette, or Violette or something. But that's it. That was pretty much so March,
In March.
April, May, June, almost July.
Right. But that ain't bad. That ain't bad because you can't do that every month.
No, you can't. You can't. That stuff expensive.
Right. But that's
Yeah.
nice. I'm glad. I'm happy to hear that. So you all spent a night?
All night. That's all. It's kind of hard getting
So
away from the
it
trick
will
or
be 2
treating.
days. It will be 2 days and one night.
Let's see. Friday night, and we picked up the kids on Saturday. I
Right.
mean,
2
we went on vacation. She and I went on vacation in December. We went to Hawaii for a week without the kids.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Good.
Hmm?
I applaud you all. All right. Anybody else want to share some of their intimate connections?
Oh, my wife wanted to say, oh, you didn't want him to know that. Okay, well, let me put it back on me. She said, well, we fought in Hawaii a lot. Yeah, fighting I think it's kind of funny how you could be in a really nice place in paradise, and then somehow you just end up fighting.
Maybe
Imagine
this
that.
intimacy conversation will help.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Good. But I like the effort, even if you all fought at it. I like the effort. I see Judith says they had dinner 3 months ago. Awesome. Yeah. Chanel, what about you?
Can't remember.
Ah, my
Can't
goodness.
remember at all.
Right. All right. So, anybody else want to share? I will tell you,
You mean
in
that's
the, uh,
We're having a side conversation.
she said you just change the question.
I changed the question.
No, I said, I bet if you asked when's the last time you had sex, the numbers would be last night, last week. It would be a lot more recent than the romantic part of it.
Yeah. That's
Hey,
true.
sex don't cost nothing. It's free.
My goodness, yeah.
Well, aren't you lucky?
Yeah. If we depend upon it from a sex standpoint, it does not give the relationship the resilience during rough times. Let me say that again, because anybody else could give you sex. And if you have a job that so many people have the skill set, you're really not going to be paid very high for that job. The value is going to be low. This is why a doctor is paid the price that a doctor pays, because you don't have too many people with that skill set, especially a specialist. But a cleaner, somebody who does ordinary job, it takes nothing for an employer to dismiss that person because the value is going to be lower. It doesn't mean the person is lower or the value of the person is lower, but the value of the job is lower. And when we have sex but no intimacy, that opens up the relationship for higher rate of infidelity because the person can get it anywhere else. But that person that they're getting it from on the outside may also not have intimacy, because intimacy in a relationship is rare. You will be surprised how many Christian relationships are running under false pretense. There's no intimacy, there's no connection, and people are frustrated. Until we put back intimacy in the relationship, and you could tell that somebody has intimacy even before you're married to the person. But you can't tell if the person could have sex before because you're not having it. But intimacy is free even before. So we need to put back some more time in the relationship, that we're doing things that are fun, getting to know each other, making jokes, rough jokes, and so on, and just making the person feel as though I have a real friend in my marriage. And get out of the business mood, that the discussions are around the children, the discussion around what has to be done for the utilities, but it doesn't talk about us, future plans and things that we want to do that has nothing to do with a business encounter. If therefore your relationship lacks intimacy, then the death of the relationship has already begun. I'll say that again. If your relationship lacks intimacy, the death of the relationship has already begun. Stop long enough. Don't get so busy that you can't now inject intimacy in it. There are people who sit down and strategize and plug all these things in, and they would sit down with couples and find out what the couples are doing in their relationship. And they can plot in how many years that relationship it continues on that trajectory will go into divorce, separation, or you live unhappy together. They actually plot it. And once they know trust is gone, that's a biggie. Intimacy is gone also. You are therefore flying without propulsion. That's an aircraft that has no engine push. It is going to fall from the sky like a stone out of the air. Trust and intimacy, let's not mess with that. Any feedback? Okay. Nobody again. What the man is saying? Like nobody listening. All right.
Brother Stewart, would you um offer a suggestion as to how often, it's probably a silly question, but how often in a week, you should try to, have that intimate connection, especially if you both have, full-time jobs outside of the home and you don't want to miss each other, but you do have responsibilities, but you have a responsibility to the relationship, of course. What would be a good, goal to shoot for?
Okay. So let's go. You all want the real answer, or you want the false answer?
Real.
You want the real answer?
Mm-hmm.
Every living day. And I'll tell you how easy it is to be done. Every living day. They did experiment. Monkeys are the ones that they do most of the experiments with. And when monkeys are born, they separate them immediately from the parents. So they are never touched, never hugged. And they put them into cages. And then when they reach a certain age, they bring them back into the monkey communities. And they realize when they check the monkeys that were never touched and the monkeys that were hugged and the parents and so on picking things off of their skin, ticks and so on, that grooming and all of that, the monkeys that were never hugged were disruptive monkeys. Monkeys with temper. Everybody who's a human being needs to be hugged, touched, embraced, caressed. You don't need sex. Sex is nice, but you actually need a hug. But when we were just married and we passing in the kitchen, we used to hit the butt of our wives. Just give her a little spank on it. And she used to smile at that because she liked it. You understand? Now either we don't do it, so we stop it, or sometimes we do it, and she said, "What you hit me for? That hurt, you know." You understand me? Intimacy is easy, my people. You understand? When we just got married, or while we were courting, we always like to just give them a peck on the cheek. It does not mean that you're going to go into deep kissing to have nothing intimate and so on. You come on the date and you peck them. After you drop them home, you peck them. Everything you peck like fowl. But then you get married. And the only time your lips meet is because you're in bed wanting something. Why can't you just, when the person pass, you ask them to pass the remote, and they pass the remote. Just hold their hand and pull them in and kiss them and say thank you. That's intimacy, you know. When last have you, when you're leaving home, kiss your wife, kiss your husband? When last have you picked up the phone after you left home and you know they said, "I'm not feeling so well today," and you picked up the phone and say, "Hey girl, I know we should work. I know I just leave you, but how are you feeling now?" Do you all know that is intimacy? Intimacy must be every single day, many times a day. We don't do that. Those things are not even preached on the pulpit because we preach in Genesis and Galatians. We're not teaching those things, and yet the Bible says God has given us all things that pertain to life and godliness. So we've got to speak outside of even those spiritual things. The spiritual connections of intimacy is important. And this is one thing when the Bible talks about to worship God in spirit and in truth. The original language is intimacy. I feel a close connection to God during worship. Intimacy. I pay attention to God. And a lot of people, when they worship Him, do have intimacy because they're on their cell phone. So God is the one who feels that He's in a relationship with His wife, the church. And there's no intimacy coming from His wife. With all these people on their cell phone and all these people with the old talk going on and shushing, and getting up and walk outside to the washroom and see outside and talking with their brothers and sisters outside and then walking in back when they want and so on. But intimacy is, I pay attention to you. I notice you. And I give you regard. So let's talk about some of those intimate. Thank you very much. Look intimacy. My wife went to the grocery not too long, come back. She knows I like this. Caramel. Yeah? I'm trying to lose weight. I'm trying to come off the sugar. But hey, intimacy. I gotta eat it. See? Yeah. So, in that case, just handmade, I'll enjoy the intimate moment. Because what that says is that the person has to have thought about you. Thought about you. This week, I went down to I went off to Trinidad. So, for a meeting, a last minute meeting that was called, I had to fly out. And so I was late in getting ready for the flight. But when I went outside, my vehicle engine was running and the air conditioner on and positioned for takeoff. My wife left inside, knew I was hustling, and went and had the car ready just for me to jump in and head out. What does that say? That's just she had to think something to have done that. That's intimacy. I care for you. I thought about you. Well, give me a feedback now. So, Jennifer, did I answer your question?
That's not bad.
I need a dozen of the Avon large. And
No,
then
you're coming through softly.
Kroger eggs, which are cheaper. That's what I think. I
Jen-
think they come either 4 in a pack. Or
Jennifer, are you speaking?
um,
Okay, no, try it again. Try it again because you don't seem to be coming through properly. No, your
Because
sound is all right. Go ahead now.
okay, it does help because there are certain things you don't think are intimacy, like the, peck before you leave, to go to work, and it can be the things you're mentioning. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Your spouse is eating in the living room before the television. They finish the plate, and you get up and you decide, well, he or she is enjoying the TV show. Let me take the plate inside. It said, I thought about you. I didn't want you to be discommoded. You know that today your wife went into town or had to go and pick up the children, and by the time she comes home, she'll be tired. But you are heading home. Let me carry home something so that she doesn't have to go in the kitchen. So that she'll have something to eat. Intimacy. Yes. Well, David, you were going to say something.
That
Oh, yeah, I like how you said earlier, it's like into me, you see. So, and like you said, sex, I mean, you can pretty much anybody can have sex if they have the parts, but intimacy, you only get that with that specific person because there's only one of that person in the world. And yeah, I like that. Into me, you see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you. So let's talk about some of the other things that Jennifer opened up. The other ways we can show intimacy. Because it doesn't make sense we move off of this topic of intimacy to start anything new. at 7:13, we might as well help people to find ways to become intimate. You see, buying a blender for your wife for her birthday is not intimacy. Trust me.
How about a new sink so she can wash dishes?
No, that's not intimacy. It has to
Laundry
be.
detergent.
Wash them together.
Ooh, I like that, Jennifer. Say it loud.
If
Keep
you
it in
wash
the back.
together, yeah.
They wash
When you go and wash together is intimacy, not the detergent. You see? So that's all you do. You try to find ways of connecting, and while you're washing, you're talking about things and so on, and just letting be casual. It is at that time some people try to raise some heavy stuff that end up making that connection of starting to wash, that the person want to throw the wash water in your face. Because all of a sudden, oh, so that's why I was wondering why they came and helped me. That is why they came, because they wanted to come and pull me up for this that I did the other day. No, because that doesn't make it safe. That would make it suspicious every time you're coming to help them. They would feel that you are doing it only because you're going to raise something that they wouldn't like. So, do some things together. Yes, go ahead. Another here comes some of you all. Some of you all keeping too quiet. Another here in Kimberly, another here in Tanisha. Oh no, Tanisha said she's driving. I'm sorry. Another here in Judith. No, I heard from Lisa. Who is iPhone? iPhone, you need to change that because we don't like to have people who we don't have a name. Even if you don't have a camera on, we like you to have a name. Yes. Who was going to speak?
Crystal,
David.
brother.
Who is that?
Crystal, I will change it. Just
All right. Nice. Good. Thanks. Yes, David, you were going to say something?
No, this is me. I'm talking a lot over here. I'll say, yeah, I guess I have another question too, but the suspicious part too could be like, oh, they must just want some sex. And then like that's why they're being nice. And then I guess, oh, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, yeah, some of that like hugging and kissing, sometimes it gets somebody excited, but how do you not lead to sex if you just want to just be intimate?
Well, I don't think a man should answer that one. I will sound as a hypocrite. It's all right. So somebody under this that have been there for me.
Is that hard?
Help her.
I mean, because all intimate moments don't have to lead to sex, right? I guess that's what I'm getting at. Like,
You talking about you want her for 20, 30 minutes? Of course I'm getting excited.
I'm the vet. I
keep
think
helping us.
the vet. Yeah. Yeah. I guess they're all wired.
Okay. Well, I keep listening for more intimacy tips.
Yeah, just not for 20, 30 minutes. You just want me to hold you like this? What do you think gonna happen?
Yeah, I could feel it that is easier for a woman. Because a woman appreciates intimacy in a better, more pure sense than a man would. For us, we feel, hey, if I feel so close to you, and I've already touched you and I feel turned on, why drive all the way to the bank? You understand me? Put the card right at the edge to put it into the ATM. And take it out and walk away. When you could just put the card inside.
Like if you're watching a movie, the vet, like if you're watching a movie and you just, everybody is fully you know, clothed, then it can be that you can get just the cuddles. But for them,
Yeah,
I guess the cuddles don't come until after they know they know you. Then they can cuddle.
Yeah.
If they don't have, if they don't, have their clothes on.
that one is hard for a man. I'm telling you that. But I do support that we have to learn it. It does not come natural. For a man, we've got to learn that if a woman feels every time we touch her, it has to lead to sex, she no longer will trust the touch.
All right. How about every other time?
Remember, intimacy is a safe feeling. It
Hey,
is how you connect with your safe. So it is good. And I'm saying this now to the men. It is good to learn to touch your woman, embrace her, stroke her, and not require sex. She now feels that this is true intimacy and not a precursor to sex. If she feels it's a precursor to sex, she may start to think that that's all she's good for when it comes to that soft component of her lives. Or she feels that she's a sex machine. But she needs to know that she's appreciated for who she is. And that intimate moment is part of that. But the woman must also know, don't expect this to happen every day. Offer something and say, well, because you've been such a nice person, I'm going to offer you some. So that he doesn't now start to feel that his needs are not being recognized. Y'all get me? All right. So we're down to 7:20. Usually we go to 7:30. I want to use 10 minutes now to talk about intimacy, and you're not even married. How do people who are intimate be intimate and no marriage? They are not married, so they can't do some of the things we're doing because they're going to charge up some batteries that already full, and an overcharged battery is not a very healthy battery. How do we deal with that? How can we connect emotionally and physically if we are not married?
Well, I guess um, you focus on things that you have in common. Like I mean, you're members of the church. You can you can pray. You can study. You can talk about things relative to that. Um, but
And talk, get to know each
yeah, talk and get to know each other
other. And,
and hang out.
Hey,
Yeah.
I think I was thinking that I think that's what God wants us to do so that we can, like you said, kind of vet the intimacy level instead of clouding it with like sexual urges. I think that's why he placed sex in marriage. So maybe the two people can get the intimacy part right so that when they are married, it'll be easier to develop that intimacy because it's already there. And then you just have the bonus of the physical act with it. That's
Okay,
my theory.
okay. So when two people who are not married start touching each other, caressing each other, foreplaying with each other, with intention of mashing the brakes, that is like driving a Ferrari that have the brakes of a bicycle. A Ferrari is a very fast car. So you need robust brakes to bring a Ferrari to an end. But if you have bicycle brakes, you will find that many times the brakes don't work. So you can't rev the engine by touching and so on. But kindness, thoughtfulness towards the other person, that you see in a need, and that is where you get the inclination and the vision that this person is going to make a good partner by their concern for you and your concern for them. Because it's not all about us. It must be two ways. You are reaching out to the person reaching back out to you. And when you show concern, the person drops lunch for you because they know that you would have to leave, walk somewhere to be able to buy lunch and come back, and they drop that for you. Has nothing attached to it more than just a goodwill act. The person feels that they thought of you and they went and got a rose to drop it. It's not your birthday, not your anniversary. You see, this birthday and anniversary thing, it has messed up people because people look for it then because that's the only time they get stuff. One of the things that I try to raise my family is that don't wait on these days. So that if a day comes and you don't get anything or nothing is done, you don't miss it because you've been getting it all year long. So, how many times in a marriage a woman gets a rose and it has nothing to do with any special day or a gift? He sees something when he's passing and she says, oh, I know my wife loves this. I know she loves to eat this. I know this is what she likes and she likes it in this color. I'm going to get it. I just bring it. So in the courtship relationship, those initiatives tell you that the person is thoughtful. And that's a good way to be able to measure a person being able to exist more than just sex. But don't get carried away because it is done early in the relationship. Allow it to run even consistently in the relationship. Because part of the hunt of a man is gifts. I hope you all know that. Gifts is part of a hunt. If you look at yard fowl, chickens in the yard, the cock is going to pick up a grain of corn, come and drop it near the hen and make noise, a certain amount of noise. And when the hen tries to eat the corn, the cock jumps on top of it. And sometimes some guys use corn as a means to bring the person into their space, make them vulnerable because they have an ulterior motive. And then after that, they are gone. So we have to be careful with that. Sometimes it also happens with women that they are very nice to a man with the intention that her niceness towards him is going to lead to a largesse that she's going to get from him. Some benefit that she's going to get from him. Might be a job that she hopes that this man who has position would give her. Might be money, whatever it is. So you have to be careful about the signs of intimacy that is quasi-intimacy and is not real intimacy. All right, so 727, 3 minutes. I will leave that now for you all to do your own discussion, your own questions, ask for your clarification before we go.
Brother Stewart, will you be able to post this session in the group chat?
Yes,
So
I will load it up
we're
on.
able to attend.
Yes, I will do that. All right, so I shall do that for you, my sister. Next week, we're going to talk about values and goals. Compatibility requires us to understand what our values are, and we must agree and be compatible in values. And when you read the writings of many of the people that talk about compatibility and value systems, they are not even Christians. And they say as far as even your beliefs, be compatible in your beliefs. Now, if these non-Christians could write that and say that we must learn to be compatible in our belief system, even as far as our spiritual beliefs are concerned, is one of the reasons why I'm emboldened that a Christian marrying a non-Christian makes it incompatible as far as our beliefs are concerned. But we're going to talk about that hopefully next week. We're going to try and also to get into alignment of lifestyle. This is my lifestyle. You don't like smoking, you don't like the smell of smoke, and you marry somebody who's a smoker because you love them. No, the lifestyle is not the same. You are an honest churchgoer and you marry somebody who robs banks. The lifestyle ain't the same. So we're going to go deeper into that next week. So make sure you get that. Let me see. We only have 2 more weeks. Would you imagine that? 2 more weeks in this session. So we need to pack as much as possible into the 2 sessions that we have coming. So, and thank you all. Most of you all came for 6 o'clock, came on time. I value you for that. And there are some people who cannot make it on time, and that's all right. But you still came on board. I appreciate that also. What I want you to do is to read up the notes that I'm sending, watch the videos, because in order for 4 weeks for us to get in maximum, that's my method of giving you more information so that we don't have to go over those things on the sessions. I want people to get as much as possible out of it. All right, so I will end the live and I will leave the video, the Zoom on, because usually people more flowing after the party. It's called the after party. So I'll do that. Let's end with a prayer, please. Almighty God, thank you, Lord, for today. Thank you for these great people. So interested in improving who they are and improving their relationships and their marriages, their families, and those who are single. We thank you, Lord, for their interest in knowing how to be able to live in harmony with somebody else, dear God. Cause us to be able to be fruitful and productive in these sessions. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.